Did you do okay in Define? I hope so, because you're about to take the phase quiz. Just in case, I'll give you a brief review before asking you some questions. The Define phase has 3 steps. In Step A, you identified a project CTQs. If you recall, identifying the customer is the first step in understanding the project CTQs. Next, we analyzed data from the customer to figure out what the customer wanted. Finally, you learned about the process product drill-down tree, which is a way to integrate CTQs and business strategy. In Step B of Define, you learned about a team charter, defining the business case, developing a problem and goal statement, assessing the project scope, and selecting the team and defining each member's roles are components of developing a team charter. In Step C of Define, you define the purpose, describe the contents, and finally, developed a high-level process map. This quiz is designed to test your knowledge of the Define phase of the DMAIC process. Each question will be in a multiple-choice format. The first question is, what sources of data help determine a customer's CTQs? Select all that apply. Your choices are complaints, customer survey. Guess what? Your answer is not correct. Oh well, live and learn. All answer choices are correct. Complaints, customer surveys, customer business objectives, and benchmarking data are all excellent sources of CTQ information because they are all part of the voice of the customer. If you need to review this information, refer to Step A of Define. Moving on to question number 2. How would we categorize businesses needing loans in the commercial loan case? Select the correct answer. External customer, internal customer, commercial loan sales. You did it! Your answer choice is correct. The correct answer option is option 1. Those businesses are considered external customers. Okay, ready? Select all reasons that apply for establishing the business case for the team charter. Why the project should be done? Importance of doing the project. Consequences of not doing the project. Priorities. Fit to business initiatives. After you have made your selections, click Done to continue. Whoa, you're right. I'm impressed. All answer choices are correct. All 5 answers are excellent reasons for establishing a business case for the team charter. Assessing a project's scope helps because it establishes the company's profits. It plans boundaries and defines the project. It replaces inadequate managers. It provides a $1 per hour rate for the cost of the project. Click. You have just answered this question correctly. Congratulations. The correct answer, as you know, is assessing a project's scope helps because it plans boundaries and defines the project. One purpose of a high-level process map is to define the customer, define the customer's CTQs, define the company's goals, connect the customer to the process. When you finish, click Done to continue. You are correct. The correct answer is to connect the customer to the process, which is the 4th option. Very good. I'm impressed. Well, here you are at the last question of the phase quiz. The completed loan application package represents which part of the high-level process map? Select the correct answer. Inputs, suppliers, outputs. Yes, you're right. The correct answer is the first option. The completed loan application package is an input to the processes which will eventually lead to a completed loan. Congratulations! You finished the Define phase quiz. So, you took on Define and you're ready for more, huh? Well, I'll get you started then. Your overall goal in the measure phase is to figure out what measurements are important to the project and to record the relevant data. It's during this phase that you are going to start looking at a specific process performed in GE commercial loan sales and convert it into numbers so you can evaluate how well they're doing it. But before we get too deep into measure, let's review what you have to work with. In Define, we established the high-level CTQ for the project. In the commercial loan sales case, the customers are concerned with on-time delivery of funds. And if they're concerned about that, so is our internal customer, the manager of the commercial loan sales office. So, you got the team together with all the right players to investigate this subject. And you ended up with this drill down from the high-level goal to a manageable process component, reducing time of the loan approval process. Now that we know where we are, let's see where we're going by taking a look at the steps of measure. Step 1 is selecting the CTQ characteristic. During this step, the focus of your project narrows by drilling down even further to a specific task or product characteristic with a reasonable scope for a greenbelt project. Step 2 is defining a performance standard. This is the point when numbers, such as time, size, and distance, are assigned to the task, and the desired performance of the process is established. The final step in the measure phase is, surprise, surprise, to measure. Now that the project task is clearly defined and the desired performance is documented, the measurements have to be collected. And part of making sure they are collected correctly is having a plan and a valid measurement system. Remember that turning a process into numbers gives you factual support for the improvements that you want to make. So your assignment for the measure phase of the commercial loan sales case is to decide what you should measure and how to measure it. Then go do it. Professor Marks, the measurement expert, will be helping you with this phase. So I'm going to turn it over to you and the professor to run with. Take it away, Marks.
Thanks for the introduction, Siggy. We have a lot of ground to cover and measure, but first I want to tell you a bit about myself. I'm Ralph Marks, no relation to Carl or Groucho, and I'm a measurement guy. I take over once the team knows what a customer wants, and I start looking at what's happening internally at the process level. Click Next, and we'll start looking at what and how to measure at the loan sales office. Welcome to Step 1 of Measure. Our goal for this step is to drill down from what you learned in Define to identify the specific sub-process or system characteristic that will be the subject of your Greenbelt project. There are several tools available to help you think through selecting the right characteristic for a project. As you'll learn, not every tool is needed for every project. In this lesson, you'll be introduced to those tools and will be able to explain what each one is used for. Then you'll look in greater detail at how each one is used. Speaking of projects, we need to get rolling on the commercial loan sales case. Click Next to begin looking at the tools. When we left the Define phase for the commercial loan sales case, we had determined that by reducing the loan approval process time, we could meet the customer's CTQ of on-time delivery of funds. We have begun the scoping process by going from the big Y of on-time delivery of funds down to a little y of timely loan approval. Remember that every project is different, and the level that you need to drill down to depends on how broad in scope you want your project to be. For the commercial loan case, loan approval is a bit too broad for a single project, so in the measure phase, we need to further narrow the scope by identifying factors that impact the duration of the loan approval process. And I'll show you a few tools to help you do this. There are 5 tools for you to choose from. They are a Quality Function Deployment Chart, or QFD, a Process Map, a Fishbone Diagram, a Pareto Chart, and a Failure Modes and Effects Analysis, or FMEA. Each tool provides a different perspective on the brainstorming process. You will not use every tool for every project. Select each tool to learn more about its purpose and when you might use it. A process map is a graphical representation of steps, events, operations, and relationships of resources within a process. Team development of a process map provides several benefits, including creating a view of the process that is shared by the whole group, revealing unnecessary or redundant steps, and comparing actual processes being practiced against the ideal. If you think these problems might be present in your process, it is a good time to do a process map. We'll look at a process map for the commercial loan sales case. The purpose of a QFD is to translate customer CTQs into measurable sub-processes or product characteristics. A series of QFDs helps to narrow the focus of a project by allowing you to brainstorm internal processes or characteristics that relate to desired outcomes, then to rate the relationships between the two. For example, your customer wants a comfortable automobile. That might mean things like comfortable seat cushions and a comfortable steering wheel. So how does a steering wheel rate in overall automobile comfort? If it comes out pretty high, then you'd ask what makes the steering wheel comfortable. Is it the angle, the height, the material, and so on? I'll show you more about how this tool is used as we determine the focus of the commercial loan sales case. A failure modes and effects analysis, or FMEA, identifies ways a sub-process or product characteristic can fail in order to prevent failures. A team should create an FMEA when the Six Sigma project is considered high risk in terms of potential cost or other impacts. For example, because of the potential safety impact, an FMEA might be used on a project dealing with the design of the brake system for a car. The FMEA is not necessary in the commercial loan sales case, but we will look at a typical example later in this lesson. The Pareto chart is a quantitative tool used to identify a focus area. It operates on the principle that there can be many factors in a process, but only a vital few have real impact on the performance. To use the Pareto chart, you must have historical data. For example, if you have valid data on how many seconds it takes restaurant staff to complete each step of making a hamburger, you could use a Pareto chart to map out the time for each step. If you saw that bun toasting took a longer time than was deemed necessary, you might focus your project on a faster way to get it toasted. We will look at a Pareto chart in the commercial loan sales case. The fishbone diagram is also known as the cause and effect diagram. It gives you a structure for looking at an effect and brainstorming the causes of that effect, then rating those causes. It's sometimes a good place to start in a project and can be quickly completed. A fishbone will help us out in the commercial loan sales case. In Define, we already drilled down from the high-level CTQ of on-time delivery of funds to the process of loan application approval. The team is now ready to brainstorm a more manageable sub-process for our project. We have determined our project does not pose a high risk in terms of money or... Excellent! I'll make a Six Sigma Pro out of you yet. The QFD is a great tool for flowing down from the customer CTQ to a measurable sub-process or product characteristic for your project by rating the relationship between them. Click the Next button to see how we use it.